Hey Eric,
Hey, Aaron,
what's
can
going
you hear
on?
me?
I can hear you.
Awesome.
So I'm sure you heard about President Burton.
No, I didn't hear. What happened?
He passed away.
Oh, when did that happen?
Sometime last week. He had a graveside service yesterday, and it was nice. It was fun to see a few people. They did a Zoom broadcast, and so it was nice.
Were there a lot of people attending?
There were about 80 on the Zoom
Yeah,
and probably 30 to 50 at the grave site.
that's a lot.
Um, yeah, there were quite a few.
Oh, I'm sad to hear that.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know my story, but when I was 16, I moved to Providence, Utah to live with my aunt and uncle. And our neighbor was Warren Burton.
Hmm.
So um, I drove by there probably less than 2 months ago. And when I drove by, I thought, oh man, I need to stop. And I didn't.
Oh, no.
So I'm kind of bummed about that because I do. I stop every once in a while. My wife's parents live in Providence, and our family lives in Providence, and so we drive by there every few months, and I stop by every once in a while, but I didn't last time. I wish I would have.
So
So
had he been sick for some time?
no, I think I don't have all the details, but I think he fell and hurt something, and he never got better over the last couple of months, something to that effect. So, but I'll see if I can find some details and let you know, let the lakes know as well.
So what did you think when he was called as mission president?
Well, crazy, because I essentially knew both of my mission presidents, so I thought it was awesome. And I don't know if you knew him very well, but he was funny. He made you feel like you were the most important person to him. And Sister Burton was the same way. Um, yeah, he was a good mission president. I really enjoyed it, and I felt, and for me, I guess I needed that more than maybe some other missionaries. Um, I I don't know. Our mission was hard. It was hard finding people to talk to, and back then, and probably now too, I wasn't always the best at handling hardship like that. Um, I know my mission has helped me tremendously in that regard, but so yeah, he made things a little easier, a little bit of peace of home for me. So it was good.
So they were in the same home in Providence now as they were before your mission.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I can picture it right now. I lived on Second East and Second North, I think, in Providence, and they were like um, Second East and Fourth North or something like that. So yeah, a couple blocks away. It was a different ward, but just a couple blocks away.
And you had more time with President Burton than you did with President Lake, didn't you?
No, it was about 50-50 actually.
Okay.
I think. So I got there in '86, and I think President Burton came in '87, maybe sometime in '87.
Right.
So yeah, it was about 50-50 if I remember right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was I was with Burton the last 5.5 months of my mission. He
yeah,
came into that July transfer of '87.
yeah. So yeah, it was 50-50 for me. I was in July of '87. I was probably in Esslingen, and then finished with Elder Denny in Munich.
Any particular memories of President Burton in the mission field?
Well, yeah, he would play as he was the music department head at Utah State, and I think I might be making this up. I don't know, but I think he probably played a nose flute for us once or twice at his own conference. He could play a flute with his nose, like a recorder or something.
And the very first zone conference he did his routine that he had been on Merv Griffin and all these other shows with.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my comps had him come to his school when he was a middle school student.
Yeah.
But I heard that he never did that again in a conference. He only did it once or twice privately in the office and stuff, that whole routine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I had heard.
Yeah, that's what I remember. So
he would try to bring music to the masses to let people enjoy it. So he had a straw, and he would cut it to make noise, and then he would cut it off to make the notes to make for the song he was playing.
That's right. Yeah.
And he had all kinds of things like that were music oriented, but that were fun or engaging, that weren't academic, so to speak, so that it could be approachable. So he had been on Merv Griffin and the Today Show and all these other things, and was quite famous for this routine he did.
The graveside, a story was told about how he and Sister Burton were walking in the city somewhere, in some city, I don't know, and somebody pulled out a cello, and he, I think, was a master at the cello or something to that effect, and he just, with his grace, like mission presidents do, I suppose, walked up to him and said, "Hey, what is that?" and kind of acted stupid for about 20 minutes and had the guy teach him how to play the cello. And at the end, he played Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and then left it at that and walked away, and heard them saying as he was leaving, one of the guys tell the other guy, "See, I told you I could teach him. I could teach him well." And here's this master cellist, I guess, or whatever you call him, and he never let it known that he could, he knew exactly what to do. So he had in terms of comparing personalities between President Lake and President Burton felt to me a little more jovial than maybe President Lake.
A little bit more what, jovial?
What's that?
What did you say? More jovial?
Jovial, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't want to hog all this, but I was at the first zone conference, and he got up and spoke the whole time in English.
Yeah.
And then I was in the Munich zone at the time, so I don't know what he did in the other ones, but then at the end he goes, and some of you are probably wondering if I can speak German. So he did his best Hollywood Nazi type German accent, speaking English, and he continued on talking like that for a little while, just as a joke and whatnot. And so he really did, like you said, like to make things, enliven things with some humor and whatnot.
And Chad, they took, I don't know if you were at the grave or watched the graveside service, but they told that very story as a matter of fact. So
yeah, no, I missed it. I have some work issues today that I'm having to deal with. So
yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, he, like President Lake, he had a huge impact on my life. So I wish I would have stopped. I wish I would have heeded the prompting to stop and see him. So
it's unfortunate that their group, I shouldn't say their group, but that group has not been as active as the late Missionaries group has. Yeah. I went to one or two reunions, in the first 5 or 10 years afterwards. And then they kind of, as far as I didn't hear anything about anything more. And, I was looking, I hadn't even heard about this, and something came up that Facer had posted about the obituary, came up on Facebook. So then I went over there to find, to read about it. And, there had been, they'd had a couple of posts this summer about miscellaneous things, and they had, it was almost nothing. So it's unfortunate that, that they didn't have the support there, so that a lot of us might have been able to.
Can you flip it the other way? Yeah, you had it right the first time, Ken. But yeah, I agree. They didn't have the support. I tend to think that President Lake's missionaries and mission are a little are different, and that's why we have Eric Rogers, and he makes everything happen in getting people together.
That's on you.
Right.
What is this shit? Does it work? What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Does it work? You better get your boy.
I posted in the chat a link to a nice obituary from the Deseret News. Really nice picture.
Hey, Russell, put your thing on mute.
Get your boy, Tom. Georgie.
There we go. So yeah, I thought I'd bring that up, since a few of us are probably gonna know about that and want to know.
One thing I remember he said was that he'd been in the Swiss Alpine mission. I mean, the German Alpine mission, or whatever it was called back in the 50s or whenever it was. And that the sister missionary had come into his district when he was district leader, and he had the impression that was going to be his wife. Now, he didn't say anything at the time, but it ended up being true. Something he kept to himself for my remembrance. This has been 30 years, but
yeah, they're amazing. They talked about that story as well at the graveside. So
those are the things that I remember from. I was only there for 5 months with him, 5.5 months or about.
Yeah.
But I think all mission presidents are probably great in their own ways. I think each mission president is great in a different way.
Yeah.
I think we were exceptionally lucky with President Lake to get somebody who was great in a lot of ways.
I agree.
The obituary says that he became one of the first flying professors when he and another colleague flew in a Piper Cub to teach the first university extension classes in the Uinta Basin, and that he continued to fly until he retired.
Yeah, and he also spearheaded, I don't know what you call, but these huge kind of extended classes with 100+ students as well. Something to that effect.
Thank you for sharing some memories of President Burton.
Stupid question. Who was he?
He was
the mission president who followed President Lake.
Oh, okay.
And I guess it was on Halloween he passed on.
Didn't know that.
It's interesting you share how Burton was a little more jovial, I think is the word you used, than Lake. Yeah. And of course, I was early on, so I was Dellenbaugh and Lake. And I would say that compared to Dellenbaugh, Lake was much more jovial. And
oh, really?
They're just interesting comparisons.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's the Lake wasn't jovial, but it was a different kind. I think Burton was probably more in your face, humorous, not in a negative way in your face, but much more because of his entertainer background.
Yeah,
he did it that way.
Yeah, I think President Burton had a lot of humor in everything he did. Everything involved humor in some way. So
And I think part of it was the presentation of that humor because he was an entertainer by trade.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was his training or whatever, he had been on so many TV shows and had been in public light for so long that he just spoke differently in public than somebody else. I think President Lakes was perhaps more of a dry humor, saying things like, it's totally true, but it's easier sometimes to get forgiveness than permission. That's humorous. That's jovial, but not in the same way. It's kind of a dry, he's also teaching a principle. I'm not trying to say he was trying to get a laugh out of it. I find that what he said humorous, but in a totally different way.
Well, maybe at the end of the mission, President Lake was tired of the kind of sight, you know?
Yeah.
It's a little overjoyed by then.
Well, and I'll, not to get anybody worried, but last time I saw President Lake, when I heard that President Burton had passed away, it made me think of President Lake and his health and hoping that he and Sister Lake can stick around a little bit longer, selfishly, I suppose.
Yeah, mortality is a hard thing to confront when it confronts you, whether it's you personally or someone you know. My wife's mom is on her way out right now. And it's kind of the last week or two has gone much faster downhill. And it's a lot different. It's not my mother, but it's a lot different than, reading about somebody in the paper that you don't know, or you may have known that they were a person. And I'm not talking about President Burton because I knew him a little bit. I didn't know him very well over his whole life, but still I had a connection with him. But you hear about, some person in the newspaper dying. It's like, okay, somebody died, they got old, yeah, whatever. But when it's somebody you have to confront it. And part of that is you realize that you're getting older too. And you don't want to admit that either. So
Rudiger doesn't look any older.
no, he doesn't.
Just
I don't know. Except for the hair, Hoach doesn't look any older either.
Thanks for the joke.
I'm still 25.
Any updates from you guys in Europe on the terrorist attack in Vienna?
No, not from me. I don't know what you have heard, but terrorist attack by most likely a radical Islamic person. But I don't know how many, 3 or 4 or 5 deaths. That's latest news I have. I mean, it seems to be getting normal that we have attacks like this in Europe, in France. It's I don't know how many attacks they had the last years, 4, 5, or 6. We had one in Germany a couple of years ago, now in Vienna. Seems to be getting more or less normal, unfortunately. England also has been hit several times, Björn, right?
Yeah, not that I can quite remember when the last time was. My manager was actually on a train where one attack happened, or an attempted attack happened, which sort of brought it really close to home. But then, I mean, I've been in the UK twice. First time around was in the 90s, and back then the nearest larger town, I remember when we were here, was hit by an IRA attack. And once going to a multi-state conference, we passed by this building, which just a month before had been hit by an IRA attack. It's different people. Back then, of course, there was people that were supported by certain Americans. Well, so the IRA was partly being supported by Irish Catholics out of Boston area.
Okay.
Some Catholics, I should say.
Yeah, so even watching the Patriot Games movie, which was fictional, but it dealt with that, and you saw that when they were in the United States trying to raise money. That part was a fictionalized account, but that was very much so.
One of my Seminary and Institute colleagues, Richard Norby, was the mission president and was injured in the 2016 Brussels bombing.
Wow.
I don't know if any of you know Richard.
But currently, the headlines in Germany are about the elections in the US.
What elections are those?
The US. Yeah, really.
Presidential elections in the US.
You've already
Uh,
forgotten.
The
What are you talking about?
terrorist attack is secondary on fourth and fifth place.
I went to bed last night assuring my wife that Biden was going to be elected, and I woke up telling her, well, maybe not.
I think it'll be weeks before we have the clarity. So I didn't even look at the news until this morning because
Maybe the
Yeah,
Europeans.
The Economist came out about a week or two ago firmly supporting Biden, and most of Europe is in general, from what I understand.
course.
All my German friends have been messaging me nonstop about it has to be Biden, it has to be Biden. So
Maybe we are more concerned than you guys.
That's the beauty of being members of the church. We know that whatever the heck happens, it'll be all right.
I was just telling my son-in-law that this
Yeah,
morning.
I don't think that's how things work, to be honest.
Yeah, and my son-in-law is a political science major, and his grandfather was a politician in California, and so his whole family is very political, and he is stressed out to the max right now, and I, just said, hey, you can't you voted, you can't control anything right now anyway, so don't stress about it. What happens happens. And like Rich says, we know everything turns out all right one way or another.
Unless you're Helmut Hübner.
But not necessarily in the short term, I think.
What did you
Bjorn,
say,
how's-
Bjorn?
Again,
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
maybe in the long term, or in the long term, yes, but in the short term, maybe not.
Yeah, yeah.
What's
No-
Boris have to say about it, Bjorn?
What does who have to say about it?
Boris.
Boris, they're very wisely keeping their mouths shut.
Who's Boris?
Boris Johnson,
Oh, the
Prime Minister.
yeah, I got you.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but yeah, since I raised the issue of Northern Ireland a second ago, there is this bit which there was finally a peace treaty in the late 90s. And the peace treaty was relying on the fact that, well, because of the EU, there's no borders. And with Brexit, a border might have to be reintroduced. And some people have said, well, maybe you'll have to make a border between Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, and the UK, and the rest of the UK. And yeah, and Joe Biden has actually gone out and because the US is one of the guarantors of that peace agreement. So Joe Biden has already gone out and said that the British government, if he becomes president, they better not mess up this peace treaty.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the British Prime Minister at the moment is keeping his mouth very, very shut to make sure that he doesn't offend anybody, no matter who wins.
Mm.
What we needed, the best thing I think we needed for our country is just either one side to just win by a landslide. Either way, it wouldn't have mattered. Just somebody to win hard, and now we're in.
I mean, even Brexit, it was only 2/3 of the voting public that, or the public population that could vote that voted, and out of that 2/3, it was 51.6% that voted for Brexit.
Yeah, those are tough situations.
Well, I mean, they could have easily said, right, okay, it has to be a minimum of, I don't know, 60% of the vote to count or whatever.
Yeah.
I just got an email that
At least it's divided.
by Biden, by the way.
You what?
I just got an email notification that Biden wins. Oh, Biden wins Wisconsin is projected.
Yeah,
Projected,
that's been going on for a while.
It's going to be a week. So I've learned not to talk politics with my friends because I want them to stay my friends, whether they're on the communist side or the right wing side or anywhere in between. I have friends that span the whole thing. And I just find the common ground that I have with them, whether it's music for some of them, or whether it's, church, or whether it's cars or language or whatever. I keep that common ground and I shut up.
That's a good
with Chad.
that's a good motto.
Our differences that bring us together.
At
Jordan,
least it looks like it's going to be divided, which I think is a plus. Either the left or the right need to be reined in by a divided government. So at least I think that's a plus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bjorn, you've been in Denmark, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Were you just going for a visit, for vacation, or for work, or?
I used the coronavirus pandemic to decide to purchase a holiday home in Denmark.
Nice.
It's needed a little bit of work, but also a very reason I just got fed up with working from home all the time. So my son and I got into the car and drove off, and then we worked from there for a while. And then my wife came by airplane a week later.
How long a drive is that?
In kilometers or in time or both?
Both.
Both.
You're putting me on the spot here. I think it's about 1,200 kilometers, something like that.
By 800 miles approximately.
Divide by
Driving to
1.6.
California.
Yeah,
Yeah.
roughly it's 800, not quite 800, but close enough. It's like going to Las Vegas and back from Salt Lake.
No, it must be longer because it takes us longer. Actually, I'm just wondering whether I'm only counting from France and up to Denmark and not counting the bit that I have to drive before I get to the tunnel. But in total, in terms of time, I mean, the way we tend to do it is we drive, start late in the evening, and then we drive during the night, and maybe drive into the side for 2 hours or so, and then go on again. So I think we're doing it in about 16 hours or so, including rest time.
What's the charge for driving under the channel?
What is the charge? Depends on how early you book, and I always book too late. I think this time we paid £112 each way. And then they charge us £20 each way per dog, and we have two. So
that's putting your car on the train and taking the train, right?
yeah. You drive onto this train, closed train, and at the other end you drive off, and 3 minutes later you're on the the French equivalent of the Autobahn.
So you stay in your car while you're on the train?
So you used to be able to walk around, but during the pandemic, no.
So does that mean you stay in the car, or do they have a coach that you have to sit in? Or?
No. You stay in your car.
Okay.
And you were always able to do that.
That's interesting.
I know that they always also take trucks across, and they are in more open wagons, and the chauffeurs are in a separate wagon.
Mhm.
So how fast did you get that car going on that trip?
I was actually being somewhat relaxed this time. Yeah, no, actually on the way there was just about my son and I. So my wife doesn't like it if I go fast.
I was gonna say, it depends on your passengers, right?
Yes, yeah.
Is it in France?
I may have hit 200 kilometers an hour.
In France, though, in places like that, there's a limit, right?
Yeah, it's only when you get to Germany that it's there are no speed limits. Well, as you
Well,
know, it's usually then there's a bit of motorway or autobahn where because of Straßenschäden or whatever, there's a limit, and then it's free again, and then it's down to 120.
And they probably have areas where they lock it down during rush hour and things like that too. I know there's a lot of those electric signs that have gone up.
Yeah. But yeah, again, you know, they, as you may have heard, they've locked down, or they're locking down Europe again, and certainly on the way back, you know, yeah, you didn't have to take into consideration the other cars and swerve in and out and brake because somebody isn't going so fast. It was very noticeable that it was shutting down again.
Yeah, my daughter, she and her husband are moving to Paris these days, and it's difficult for us how to figure out how we get them there and the furniture there. Because if we want to enter France, we have to get a test, the corona test. And we come back, we have to go to quarantine and get another corona test and so on and so forth. So we don't know yet how we will manage that.
So I saw online that there was a form you had to fill in to go through France, which I had to get back home. And there were a number of options, none of which seemed to apply. But we weren't checked anywhere. I mean, okay, it's only a very small part of France you go through when you're going from Belgium and to Calais. But there were no checks or anything on the way.
When did you take your trip? Because the restrictions in Germany became active this Monday only. So they are much stricter now than they have been before.
This was on Saturday that we were
okay. Yeah.
So a guy I work with who lives in India, his wife just got a job in Berlin, and so they're supposed to be moving to Berlin, and I wonder how all that's working out with all the new restrictions and stuff. They're supposed to show up. They're supposed to be there by the 16th or something like that of this month, something like that.
As long as she gets a flight, she probably will have to quarantine, or how do you say, go to quarantine for a couple of days and get a test or something like that. I suppose.
Yeah. I hope we find a solution, because I'm supposed to be there next year. So.
Sister Lake, how are you and President Lake doing?
We're doing fine. We're both here now. I was just listening to you because our granddaughter-in-law they live in Kenya, but she came here to Washington State to visit a friend and had a terrible time getting back to Kenya because every country she went through, she had to have written proof that she'd had a COVID test and that it was negative. And she didn't have the paperwork she needed. And anyway, she had a terrible time getting back home. She finally made it. So go to the email. Go to Rich's thing.
Good, Michelle. Love the sunglasses.
Eric. Yeah. Oh, geez. No,
At least that you can see some of the international travel happening if you have a reason.
Yeah.
My daughter has a friend at her school. They're from Bosnia. I mean, her friend is born in the United States, but his parents came from Bosnia. And one of them went back to visit an uncle who's sick or something like that. And the kid was telling me he went from Salt Lake to, I think, New York or somewhere, to Amsterdam, to Sarajevo, to Belgrade, and then back into Bosnia by car. And they had to have every airport wanted to see proof of negative tests and this and that and reams of paperwork.
Try this one right here.
I mean, it's happening, but it's hard. I wish we The problem is we can't get into Japan, and or even just my wife, and that's what we're trying to do now. Is just because our mom's about to go.
I read in the Desert News that the church is starting to slowly but surely send out missionaries again internationally. So we'll see how that goes.
That's interesting. That's a kind of exciting.
Right.
I'm in my office, but I'm not supposed to be there. We got a memo saying that we shouldn't come back till the first of the year at the earliest.
Okay.
But I'd rather get forgiveness than permission, so.
Didn't learn that from me.
So what are you doing in your office?
Working.
Well, you can't do it from home.
So
there's some things I can do, but there are resources that I have here in my office that I don't want to lug home.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Sister Lake, can you guys are logged in twice? Can you put one of them on mute? Well, I guess you're only logged in once now. Well, it looks like President Lake logged off again. You can both be logged in as long as one of you stays on mute.
President Lake was just trying out a new thing.
Hello.
I mean, if he wants to be logged in or whatever, that's fine. Just since you're in the same room, put one of you on mute and use one microphone. You're on mute, Sister Lake. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Sister Lake. There we go.
Yeah. President Lake, Bruce is just trying out a new gadget that he got in the mail yesterday. It gives him a camera and a mic on his computer, which he has not had. It's only been on mine. But it's not working quite right. So we're waiting for our daughter Susie to come and tell us all about it.
It seemed to have been working because it went between him and you, and we could hear the feedback. So
yeah, I heard that.
It may be working better than you think.
Maybe. If it's working, it's a miracle. We don't ever have things that work on the computer. We're constantly calling one of our kids. Do you know what we can do about this problem? And they almost always do know. So as long as we have them around, we're okay.
Well, that doesn't change when you get younger. We still do it. We do it with our kids as well, and our kids will do it with their kids, I'm sure.
Is that right? Oh, that makes me feel a little better, I think. So is everybody
in this house, kids come to me.
Are you all well? And your family's well? Anybody
Yes.
sick? Well, our oldest daughter has been very sick. She had all the symptoms of COVID and she had 2 tests and they were both negative. She's getting better now, but makes you wonder about the tests, how accurate they are.
My wife was saying that 30% of them are wrong.
How many?
30%, but it depends what kind of test they're doing.
Well, she had one that was a short-term thing, and then I think the first one she had was the one where they do the nasal swab, and that takes longer. But anyway, she's getting better. So
maybe she just had a regular flu.
What's that?
Maybe she had just a regular flu.
Just a regular flu? Well, we thought about that, but the symptoms were kind of different than just the regular flu. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, whatever it was, it's passing, and her husband doesn't have it, and we didn't catch it. So I guess we're okay.
Hi, all. I just came back from my institute lesson.
Oh.
Hi.
Were you teaching or?
Yeah.
Oh, what was your subject?
It was Mormon 7 through 9, but we got into really interesting. I have such great young adults. It got very philosophical, and they're very wise, and it inspired me. So
good.
I learned more than they did.
There's a lot in that part of the Book of Mormon, isn't it? We've just been reading it too.
Yeah, and it's tough, and it's so pertaining to these times, you know.
Oh, sure
Really,
is.
so it's pretty heavy, but we
So did you teach online or?
yeah, a few weeks ago we were in church again, but then they canceled it again.
Already.
How about
Yep.
the sacrament meetings in the US? Are they
They're
online
canceled
or?
again also because the numbers went up, and the government just issued not a total lockdown, but more strict rules to keep it down, because they said the last what's the word? The wave? Do you call it a wave?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why not?
Wave. They found that people who had heart attacks and cancer actually didn't even show up to the hospitals, and so they said, we want to not only keep corona down, but we want to prevent, you know, other people with other ailments to not get the help they need. And
no problem.
so, you know, they want to keep the ICUs not full. Sorry?
Not full.
Yeah. So yeah, and actually our hospital here in our city, 2 weeks ago or last week, they had to get a chopper and get some people over to Germany because the hospital was full. And I don't know why they picked Germany. I think that was at a time that our other hospitals were getting fuller too. So
Yeah, Germany has quite a lot of capacity, free capacity.
Yeah, they have more ICU beds.
Mm.
But that's going up now too. So everybody's refusing. I think just Sweden and Greece are in the yellow zone, and we're all orange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, orange to red.
Well,
I would like to know how you do your sacrament meetings in the US. Do you also do it online?
So
or do you have meetings in chapels?
What they're doing is the church has set up a camera in every chapel, at least the ones that I'm familiar with, and they have a dedicated link that people log into, and so what they're doing is they're doing a sacrament meeting without the sacrament, and then they turn the camera off, and then they do the sacrament at the end.
That's the way we do it.
And it was 150 people allowed but now it's down to 99 as of last week. So our ward is split into two groups, and they just alternate weeks on who's in the building and who's watching the meeting virtually. They've done some exceptions, like single sisters and other people who have more difficulty receiving the sacrament are invited to come every week in our ward.
We have the sacrament meeting on YouTube like that, and then we do Sunday school and Relief Society and priesthood meeting on Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
In Idaho, we're fully back. 2 hours, the whole ward singing, passing of sacrament.
Oh,
the whole shooting match.
And they let you sing, huh?
We have sung from day one, to be honest. Once we came back, there was that period of time where nobody was going to church. But the minute we came back for our initial hour, we've sung from day one.
We've been singing too from day one.
In our ward, we have to hum. They don't sing, they just hum.
Because of the man, they say.
Well, I think it's because the books aren't clean.
And we we don't use books, and hardly anybody wears masks.
How are the numbers there? Are they going up there then?
Idaho is pretty small and rural, so we're okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're having a minor spike, but not terrible.
Utah's had spikes. We've had up to as many as 2,200 in a day. So now.
In Arizona, we've gone from YouTube to, depending on the size of the ward, we were going every other week. Another ward in our state was going once a month. And now as of 2 weeks ago, we're back full time, the whole ward.
Wow.
We're just now open all the way back into the cultural hall. And so it's been nice, but it's still, we went from 45 minutes, now we're an hour, but it's still, wear the masks and we can sing now, but there's nothing like singing in a mask, as you guys probably know.
I think that
But it is good to be back and to see people. It's
Where are
been
you?
months since we've seen people.
Where
Pardon
are
me?
you? Where are you, Ken? I've forgotten.
I'm in Gilbert, Arizona.
Arizona. Mhm.
I
Gilbert.
think that each of the areas, or I don't know what they call them now, but what used to be the areas, sets their own rules. And so I know that our, whatever the general authority is over Utah, they set different rules perhaps than Arizona or Holland or whatever, depending upon both the states and the local rules, as well as what they feel that it should be. In our state, some wards are meeting every week with everybody because their normal attendance is not that great because half the people don't choose to come with this COVID. Some wards like ours we exceed the number we're allowed, so we've broken into groups of 2. We still do, I think, like the Lakes mentioned, have the Zoom for the second hour where it's divided in 2 half hours. So we have youth Sunday school first and then adult Sunday school, or vice versa, one week, and then the next week Relief Society and Young Men's, and then Elders Quorum and Young Women's meet, so that families that only have one computer and stuff can both participate in their own meetings, things like that. They've tried to break it up to make it, and also so the teachers don't have to do 45-minute lessons online. They can do a 20-minute, 25-minute lesson, which seems to work better for the attention span of people online and whatnot. So each ward is adapting. I know other wards in our state do it a little bit differently than we do. We've been able to sing the whole time. We have mask mandates. Every other row is empty. They like I said, now it's limited to 99, so they've been like broken into 2 groups, but certain people whose callings bring them to church every week, or like single sisters and things like that who don't have priesthood at home for the sacrament, if they want to, can come. And some people choose not to come at all because they're just not comfortable with it yet. So I think each ward and stake is making their own based upon the guidance they get from the next level above the stake.
Mhm.
So before general conference, each ward was meeting once a month, and we had 4 wards in our stake, so that was basically a month's worth. And we were broken up into 2 or 3 groups because we weren't supposed to have more than, I don't know, 50 or 100 or something like that. And it wasn't anything online, but then the church set up the system so we could do it online with the sacrament meeting. And so since the Sunday after conference, we've been doing it with this online thing, and it's worked out pretty well. We had a bishopric change and a not a homecoming happen. So our attendance doubled on those 2 days.
Yeah. Well, this too will pass.
Hopefully.
I liked going to bishopric meeting in my PJs on Zoom. Now I have to get up and go back to the meetings on Sunday, and it's like, you know what? I kind of like the old way.
Yeah.
Warren Council and bishopric and stuff.
There are probably some people who like the old way so much that they won't go back. I'm serious. There probably are some who like being home.
Yeah. Listening to talks in your PJs, that does have an advantage.
You just have to make sure your camera's off.
You should see all the Zoom workers, or people who wear a dress shirt and then wear boxer shorts under their desk. It's so funny when you see pictures of people working just
My kids' school is every other day online and every other day in school. They have 2 groups that alternate, so there's always half the school in class, but they have to attend the class with the people. The online people have to attend at the same time as the people who are in class. So they have the same 8 to 3 or whatever the school hours are. And they're supposed to have their cameras on and stuff. And I also have to ask my son to make sure he has a virtual background on before I go wandering around, because he's in the family room. And I don't want to wander around in my home clothes. So I have to ask every time.
Yeah. So
We can all find something to be thankful for, can't we? In spite of all the difficulties and
yeah,
all the changes and everything, we had that terrible windstorm here, you know, in September. Was it September? Was it that long ago? October. Anyway, we were without power from Monday night till Friday night. And it was cold. We went down to our daughter Susie's and slept at their house because it was too cold at our house. But our neighbor next door hooked up a very long extension cord over the fence into our garage so that we could plug in our freezer and refrigerator. And we didn't lose any food. We would have lost everything in 5 days.
Yeah.
And that was so kind of him to do that. And we had to move the freezer out from the alcove where it is to get to the electrical outlet. And he came over and moved the freezer. And it was just great of him to do that. So
there are some advantages to getting older. People think you can't do what you used to do.
Which in some ways is true, but
President Sister Lake, I don't know if you noticed in our chat at the beginning of our meeting, we were talking about the passing of President Burton.
Yes.
Were you aware that he had passed away?
we
Yes.
are aware, yes.
Nate Falk called me that same afternoon.
Not Nate Phillip,
Nate
somebody else.
called me.
Facer?
Facer,
Yeah.
yes. Elder Facer. Gary Facer.
Yeah, Gary.
And told us. And yeah, we've known Alta and Warren for many, many years. And
Since college.
we lived in Logan for a year. And while we were there, Warren, who plays the cello, started our son with a big piece of wood and strings tied to it and a bow that he'd made. And that's how he started him on the cello. So it was interesting. But Warren and Alta both were at the University of Utah when we were there. And I don't know if I ever told you, when they came to Munich, we went out to dinner with them and the stake presidents that were involved in the mission. And they told us while we were sitting there that they had brought with them, I can't remember, it was one or two cases of sauerkraut. And there was just from home. And there was just silence, you know. You came to Germany and brought sauerkraut with you. And yeah, well, where they came from, Paradise.
Providence.
Providence, yeah. Has a lot of German ancestry in it, and they're very proud of their sauerkraut there. So anyway, we thought that was pretty funny that they brought sauerkraut with them. But
yeah, they have a Providence Days celebration. And everybody makes sauerkraut.
Yeah.
So, and I'm part of that German heritage from Providence.
Oh, are you? Oh, okay. Yeah, but they're a great couple. I think they both went to the Swiss Austrian mission, I think, and they met there. That's where they met, and then were married after they got home. So great couple.
So my wife and I visited Frau Guswein in 1991. Remember Frau Guswein? We used to always call her Mutti and Neumarkt in the Oberpfalz.
Oh no, I don't remember her.
Yeah, she took care of all we rented from her, and she always took care of the missionary.
Oh, okay.
Very well, and so we visited her with our little daughter, and she was just talking about President Burton. She said, "Yeah, President Burton came and visited me, and he played music for me." And of course, I've never met him, but she was just talking about a lot about him. She remembered that.
I remember he said something like, "I know some of you think I don't speak German, but I want you to know that I speak it very well."
Yeah, we talked about that. That's one of my remembrances is he did that at a conference.
Yeah. When we were on our mission in Berlin, they had been in Czechoslovakia for something. What were they? Oh, they were serving a mission in Czechoslovakia. And we found out that they were just finishing their mission and would be coming through Germany. So we asked them if they would do a series of kind of little gatherings, get-togethers at the outreach centers for the students and the institutes, and they agreed to do that. And Warren did his act that he had done on national television, I think, with who?
Many times, yeah.
So he did that for them, and there was one student in the Berlin Institute who he never cracked a smile. He was the most sober person I ever knew, but I was sitting next to him as Warren performed, and he was laughing so hard he almost fell off his chair. So anyway, they did a great job.
Yeah, Warren's a great soul.
Yeah.
Apparently, he died of some staph infection.
Mm.
Is that what it was?
That's what Gary told me when he called.
Elder and Sister Lake, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Okay. I have a wish. I want to start to collect all memories from my mission. And if you know some situations or some whatever, what you remember about me, can you write that down and send it to me, please?
Yes.
So that I have memories from you personally, how you see or understand or like or whatever me as you, I can't see it in English. Okay.
Say in German.
Können Sie sich noch an irgendwelche Situationen erinnern, die mit mir zu tun haben? Weil wir haben das für meinen Vater gemacht. Wir haben versucht, alle Mitarbeiter zu kontaktieren, also rauszufinden, wo sie wohnen, ob sie noch leben oder nicht, und haben das dann zusammengetragen und haben eine Mappe gemacht mit Fotos, weil er ja Baumissionar war. Und einige Gemeinden haben das halt aufgeschrieben. Und wir haben Fotos und Geschichten und Begebenheiten alles zusammen in eine Mappe getan und ihm zum 80. Geburtstag geschenkt. Und so etwas Ähnliches möchte ich für mich selber anfangen. Und ich wollte fragen, ob sie mir dabei helfen kann. Es hat keine Eile, es ist einfach nur ein Anfang.
Okay.
Die haben bis zu deinem 80. Geburtstag.
Das wäre nett. Nein, ich meine das wirklich ernst, weil ich habe festgestellt, dass ich leider viele Sachen vergessen habe.
Ja, ich auch.
Und es ist ja einfach wichtig, dass solche Sachen nicht vergessen werden. Und dass man das auch an die...
viele Bilder? Hast du selbst noch viele Bilder gemacht?
Leider nicht. Zu der Zeit hatte ich keine Kamera.
Ah, schade.
Das heißt, jeder, der ein Foto von mir hat oder ein Foto hat, wo ich drauf bin und vielleicht noch draufschreiben kann, wo das war und wer dabei ist, das würde natürlich sehr helfen.
Wer waren deine Kollegen?
Oh, unter anderem Elder Gudnason, aber das ist leider zu spät.
Ja.
Aber Brady Hansen zum Beispiel.
Ah ja. Hat er welche? Hast du schon gefragt?
Nein, wie gesagt, ich fange heute an.
Aha.
Und das ist eine Möglichkeit, möglichst viele Leute anzusprechen.
Ja.
Und wie gesagt, ich habe keine eigenen Fotos. Ich habe zwar noch die Namen von den Mitarbeitern und auch, ich weiß auch, in welchen Städten ich war, in welcher Zeit. Aber wie gesagt, viele P-Day-Ausflüge und so, die sind leider einfach aus meinem Gedächtnis verloren gegangen. Und es wäre schön, wenn man mir helfen würde, das wieder ins Leben zu rufen, sage ich mir, in Erinnerung zu rufen. Und wie gesagt, es ist ja nicht nur für mich persönlich, sondern es ist ja auch für unsere Tochter und alle anderen, die Interesse dran haben. Es ist wie ein Buch der Erinnerung, wenn es gut wird und fertig ist. Aber halt nur von der Mission. Wie gesagt, mein Vater ist ganz froh über dieses Buch und er zeigt das jedem, um einfach zu sagen, das war eine tolle Zeit, diese Mission. Er hat besondere Erlebnisse gehabt. Bruder Busche zum Beispiel war sein Bischof und der hat ihn gefragt, ob er auf Baumission gehen will. Und er war einer der ersten Baumissionare. Und wie gesagt, es ist ein Stück Familiengeschichte und es wäre schön, wenn man das wieder zusammentragen könnte, damit es weitergegeben werden kann.
Wo war dein Vater? In Frankfurt oder andere
Nein, mein Vater
verschiedene
war hier oben
Gemeinden?
in Norddeutschland hauptsächlich.
Ach so, ja.
Er hat in Dortmund angefangen
Mhm.
und ist dann in Kiel gewesen, in Heide gewesen, in Lübeck gewesen,
War auch in Celle?
in Celle und in Flensburg, ja.
Ja, ich komme ja aus Celle, aus der Gemeinde Celle.
Ich weiß, wo war das jetzt? Dein Bruder, glaube ich, der hat uns ein Bilderalbum gegeben aus der Zeit, als mein Vater da war.
Ja, super.
Der ist ja hier oben beruflich unterwegs, ab und zu.
Jared, ja. Der zieht jetzt Richtung Neumünster.
Ja, hat er erzählt.
Wahrscheinlich, ja. Mhm.
Also wie gesagt, das ist ein Wunsch. Und jeder, der mir helfen möchte, darf das natürlich gerne tun. Und das wäre einfach eine schöne Sache.
Ja, sehr.
Es wäre eigentlich nicht schlecht, wenn jeder von uns die Gedanken von der Mission von jedem Mitarbeiter eigentlich vielleicht aufschreiben würde und dann mit dem anderen mitteilen würde.
Okay, das wäre natürlich eine größere Aktion, aber es wäre natürlich eine schöne Sache, weil jeder hat andere Erinnerungen. Und wenn alle zusammengetragen werden, etwas Schöneres kann es eigentlich nicht geben. Meiner Meinung nach.
Deswegen habe ich auch in unserer Zeit, ich bin immer vom Schreiben und Fotos machen und ich hatte dann so ein Memory Book. Es war so ein Tagebuch und da habe ich alle meine Mitarbeiterinnen und die Elders in meine District und in der Zone habe ich schreiben lassen, als ich mit sie gearbeitet habe und dann Bilder dabei gemacht. Und das ist so, ich habe es so oft gelesen, es ist ganz auseinandergefallen, aber es ist so eine schöne Erinnerung. Und da stehen auch so Erinnerungen von, wie wir das erfahren haben und was wir übereinander gedacht haben. Und das ist so toll, weil wenn die Erinnerung ein bisschen, wenn man älter wird, dann hat man immer noch das zum Lesen und die Erinnerungen zu.
Ja.
Und Kyle ist auch noch dabei, also das ist gut, dass wir haben jede Woche noch District Meeting. Aber
Also,
ja.
wie gesagt, es ist ein Wunsch und jeder, der dazu beitragen möchte, das wäre natürlich klasse. Aber wie gesagt, man kann das natürlich auch bei jedem anderen machen und sagen, ich kann mich daran erinnern, dass Elder, Schwester sowieso das und das gemacht hat oder wir waren da und da. Und mit Bildern ist es natürlich noch viel schöner.
Ja,
Ne?
ja, das ist ganz toll.
Das ist eine gute Sonntagsaktivität. So
Zum Beispiel.
einmal im Monat oder alle 2 Wochen oder so eine Stunde hinsetzen und Gedanken und Erinnerungen aufschreiben. Vielleicht bin in Offenburg angefangen und mein erster Mitarbeiter war Elder Rufernacht. Und was ich dann daran erinnere, von dem Tag, wo ich dann hingekommen bin oder von ihm, was er mir gesagt hat und was wir geplatscht haben, worüber wir geplatscht haben und so weiter. Und wenn man denkt, ich muss das alles auf einmal machen, dann das ist zu viel. Wenn man Schritt auf Schritt geht,
Genau.
und heute mache ich das in Offenburg mit El Rufenacht. Und dann eine Woche später oder 2 Wochen später eine Stunde Offenburg mit dem zweiten Mitarbeiter. Ich habe seinen Namen vergessen. Der einzige, woran ich nicht erinnern kann. Ein bisschen so Schritt auf Schritt gehen, dann ist es nicht zu groß, eine Aktion für jede Person. Und vielleicht würde er sich freuen, das von mir zu bekommen. Ich würde es auch freuen, von anderen zu bekommen.
Mhm.
Und es kann sein, dass es Sachen sind, die wir mit allen mitteilen könnten. Und es sind wahrscheinlich viele Sachen, wo es nur persönlich für den anderen ist. Vielleicht könnten wir eine President Lake und Sister Lake Mission Book machen, wo wir alle einfach Ereignisse erzählen, die wir miterlebt haben. Oder so. Es muss nicht mit dem Präsidenten zu tun haben. Was wir in Offenburg gemacht haben oder in Würzburg oder in München oder in Stuttgart gemacht haben, an dem einen Tag, was okay ist, denn unter dem Publikum zu sagen. Es sind wahrscheinlich vieles, was nicht gesagt werden soll. Aber
Ja,
die sind schon gesagt auch. Ja.
Ist das nicht, was die Webseite ist? Unsere Webseite, da schreiben wir Geschichte darauf und teilen Bilder mit, nicht wahr?
Aber die meisten tun das nicht, ich auch nicht. Ich reagiere nur auf das, was hingeschrieben wird.
Ja, aber es wäre ganz toll, wenn noch mehrere Bilder auch auf die Facebook-Page kommen, weil es gibt bestimmt noch Bilder, wovon man nichts weiß, und das ist cool, ist nicht nur ihre eigenen Bilder zu sehen, aber auch was andere gemacht haben. Und erinnert ihr euch, was President Lake gemacht hat? Er hat uns gefragt, einen Brief an uns selbst zu schreiben.
Ja.
Und dann 10 Jahre nachher hat er uns dieser Brief geschickt. Und wir sollten dann da reinschreiben, wie wir uns vorstellen, wie es sein wird in 10 Jahren. Und das war ganz toll, dieser Brief zu bekommen. President Lake, das war eine gute. What's that? Is that?
That's Ella Skinner and myself in the suit of Ella Obenchain.
This is Elder Obenchain.
So each one of us had both of our legs in one of his legs of his suit. So this is one of my memory books.
Oh, cool.
Here with pictures and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mein geistlichen Ausweis, my train tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And so on and so forth.
Yeah, those things are so cool.
I have a box full of stuff, but I haven't actually gone through it. My mom saved it. Most of my pictures got lost. I sent them home. I sent them home as slides that were unmounted, and my parents set them aside for me without even looking at them. They were supposed to look at them, and then they got lost somehow. And I don't have most of my pictures. I have a few from the very end that I brought the film home with me, but I have a whole ton, like Geistlichen Ausweis and all kinds of the Wahrheitskreis thing and everything.
Björn,
Too bad.
do you recognize yourself?
It's a little bit too close to the camera.
Is that a bowling? Is that Whitey?
I've got the same picture.
Yeah.
Is it?
Who is that? Who is it, Elder Saint?
It's from left to right. It's Björn, Ella Grabeck, Ella Land,
Land. Oh, yeah.
Ella Hansen, and myself.
Yeah. Is Hansen on the right? Is that a bowling? Were you bowling or something?
Let me see. No, it's a cap and some kind of liquor bottle.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say it looks like a liquor bottle.
And the Bible.
You would.
I'm surprised that I remember the names of Land, Ella Hansen, I've never heard or seen them for 30 or 40 years.
That's how it works, though. Long-term memory. Don't ask me what I did last week, but I remember verbatim what we did 40 years ago. It's
Oh,
like,
Randall, you're
that's
too
true.
young for that.
I turned 60 last week.
Oh, no, but that's
I'm getting up there.
that's our story.
Yeah, the senior moments start coming a little bit off and on every
You
day.
look 29, Wendelin.
What's that?
You look 29.
Oh.
I heard someone say the other day, my heart remembers your face, but my head can't remember your name. And that's the way I am.
My heart?
Names go first.
What was that again? My heart remembers
your face.
Your face?
But my head can't remember your name.
My head can't remember your name. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you all have a great Thanksgiving, and don't get it. Yeah, Rick, you must, if you're all going to church, I guess you're going to have your whole family for Thanksgiving, huh?
We're going to buzz to Utah, so we'll be down there.
Oh, I can see Elder Grabeck right here.
Oh yeah, Elder Lund.
Well, I will admit, Schleen has changed a little bit.
Yes, a little bit.
Just a little.
The hair has gone back a little bit, and it's a little bit slightly different color, but otherwise.
Lighter. Same with Elder Grabeck. He still looks the same, a little bit lighter hair.
I think the glasses have changed.
Yeah, pictures are so cool.
I have the same pictures, same buildings. Yeah.
I'm thinking of sending that picture that you all saw.
Yeah,
Yeah, you haven't changed anything either. That picture of Elder Natchez with the apron and making the gravy for Thanksgiving. I'm thinking one of these days I'm going to send it to his missionaries when they.
I think that's a good idea.
This is what happens, you know. He had what's it called? One of those wooden spoons in his hand, and he looks sort of ferocious, like a Viking. I'm going to say this, you know. Put the fear in you if you don't work hard.
Hi, Michelle. It's nice to have another woman join us. We've only had two of us.
Well, I'm sort of
Garner
loud,
but she's gone now.
I was on earlier just by listening, but I'm at work, so it's.
Are you in the plane again?
Nope, I'm just coming out into the truck.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, airport's alive and well, and my work buddies like to listen to music, so it's a little loud. So I'll just be a silent observer if that's okay. But it's good to see you, President Sister Lake, and everybody.
Good to see you.
I've been in and out of the conversation, so.
Did you all hear that Cynthia Smart's husband Doug won the election this time?
Oh,
I got an email. I'm excited for them.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
That's good.
And is he the Speaker of the House then?
Well, I don't think so, but he will be
at least
a
senator or
representative of the House
Utah
in the
House.
House. Yeah, in the Utah House. Yeah.
Fantastic. A good friend of mine is in the Senate, and she just got elected first time, also Democrat. And I got to have, I just felt good to be in political, you know,
I didn't hear who you said was in the Senate.
Oh, and Benton is a good friend of.
She said her name is Galen Benyon.
Oh.
Galen Benyon. She's a neighbor of ours. And
Oh,
so
okay.
that's who Michelle had been helping support.
I see. Okay. Well,
I guess you already heard about the missionary and the Munich mission who fell
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And Scott, I mean, to have to
About
deal
that.
with that, oh my goodness.
I keep thinking about that, how that must.
We prayed every day that we would never have to deal with the death of a missionary. And he's been there just such a short time and
Oh,
bang,
no.
oh my gosh, poor fellow.
But you know, President Lake, I was wondering when I heard that we weren't allowed to go take hikes and things, right? When we were out.
I don't think so, but I can't remember for sure, but
If that was the case, there were a lot of missionaries like Elder Jensen who broke the rules a lot. So,
Is that right, Rich?
Well, I actually thought we could do that because we went to while we were in Berchtesgaden. I mean, we would hike around and go up some of those mountains, but I don't know where that missionary was.
She was in Switzerland.
I mean, I don't know what situation she was in, but that sounded.
Yeah.
I can't remember taking a hike anywhere where we could fall.
Yeah, that's.
It sounded like she was on a path and just slipped and then fell over the edge or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, my brother was in Switzerland back in, after me, but just a couple of years. And he has all kinds of pictures, whether he was supposed to be there or not, I don't know. But of him up on the mountain,
Sorry.
Trick photography, looks like he's standing in the middle of the air and stuff because it's, there's a cliff behind, he's, up on the top of the mountain and stuff.
Well, I remember one time we took the office staff, and I don't remember which one of you were there at the time, and went down by Garmisch, and there's a place there called Partnachklom. And we went, that was a walk, just.
It was level.
You couldn't even hardly call it a hike. It was but a walk along the side of the river there. Beautiful.
Wander.
Yeah.
And I recall Elder Farmer singing "Climb Every Mountain" and dancing one time in the mountains. Right?
Always following the rules, though, Elder McMaster. Always following the rules.
Well, just like as parents, when your children grow up, you find out they did a lot of things that you didn't know about when they were young.
Yes.
And we found out after our mission that some things went on that we didn't know about at the time. So
some of you would ask me how I knew what I knew. And I said, I have eyes in the back of my head.
We believed you.
Well, all parents have
You had
eyes
some extra help. You had extra eyes.
Yeah, actually, every member of the church is an extension of the mission president.
Yeah.
The number of phone calls I would get about you guys.
Did you know we saw so and so doing such and such? So anyway, well, we love you all. I hope you have a wonderful.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see everyone.
You don't celebrate Thanksgiving, do you, Bjorn and Gwendolyn?
Well, we do, because Kyle, we sort of have a multicultural. We do everything, Dutch holidays and American.
What about you, Rudy? You don't have Thanksgiving, do you?
No, not officially in Germany. I think we did it once or twice when we moved back. When we moved back from New York to Germany, but it just didn't fit anymore.
Yeah,
it's hard to get a big turkey, and it's not a holiday, so it's difficult.
It's not, and they don't know what big turkeys are.
Right.
We got one in Germany. We always go to Kaufland to get a big turkey.
Really?
We
At
got one
Kaufland?
last week.
Okay.
I mean, you can get them here too, fresh, but in the supermarkets they're smaller. So, and then they're a lot cheaper in Germany. So.
Yeah, I remember I was so thrilled when I found yams in Germany. I had looked for them; they just didn't have any, and finally I found some at the open air market on near Marienplatz.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were about $7 a piece, but I didn't care. I wanted them. So we had yams at Thanksgiving.
And now they're really popular because it's superfood, you know. Now
is that
they
right?
sell them everywhere. Yeah.
And when we were on our mission in Berlin, I was complaining to one of the sisters there, Sister Landhart, yeah, that I missed pumpkin. I wanted to make pumpkin pie, but I couldn't find any pumpkin because that was for animal food, isn't it, in Germany?
No.
No?
A lot of people eat pumpkin soup, and so on and so forth. It's very popular.
They didn't used to, did they?
Maybe, I don't know when you served your mission in Berlin. I'm surprised to hear about that. I didn't know that. Otherwise, I would have visited you. But
Yeah, we were there in 2002 to 2004.
okay. Yeah, we were in New York from 2000 to 2003.
Oh.
That's maybe why we didn't find out.
Anyway, so she said to me, you can buy it in the store. You just have to wash it. And I thought, wash pumpkin? What does she mean? So I went to the store to buy it, and sure enough, they had it in a glass container but when I opened the lid, I could see what she meant. It was pickled.
Oh.
You had to wash it to get the vinegar and spice flavor out of it. So I did. I washed it. And then it was in pieces. It wasn't mashed. And so I had to do that. It took me all day to make a pumpkin pie. And it wasn't very good when I got it done. And
was it still sour from the pickle?
Still kind of sour from being pickled. So anyway, we gave that up until in that big Kadave store in Berlin, we found some in the foreign food section, and it was like $6 or $7 a can. And I said to my husband, I don't care how much it costs. We're going to buy a can so we can have a pumpkin pie.
Now you get pumpkin everywhere at Aldi's, at Lidl, everywhere.
Yeah, that's good.
That's become very popular.
That's good.
When we moved to New York in 2000, no one in Germany knew about Halloween.
Oh, yeah, right.
When we came back in 2003, we thought we bring our own family traditions back to Germany.
Yeah.
Like Halloween.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, you saw Halloween everywhere.
Everywhere.
And
I know.
And since that time, they sell pumpkins in Germany.
We were so surprised when we went on our mission in the early 2000s to see how popular Halloween was. We just couldn't believe that.
Yeah, for some reason, the reason is known, but it must have happened between 2000 and 2003.
It must have.
We were in the US.
Yeah.
It was a person who was selling costumes for Carnival.
Oh.
And he said, I can only sell my stuff once a year. There must be a way to sell more of my costumes. and he made Halloween popular in Germany.
Oh, okay.
It's popular all over the world. In Japan, you now see it all over the place too.
Oh, do you?
And it wasn't that way 20 years ago when the first time we went there, but now.
Yeah.
It's
becoming here too. And it's sort of fake because it's not a Dutch holiday, you know, it's more about commercial and marketing and sort of.
I've never liked Halloween very much, but our neighbors put up lights and all kinds of stuff for it. I don't do that, but
yeah,
we did put out a pumpkin filled with candy on the front porch the other night, and when I went to bring it in about 9 o'clock, it was empty. So apparently we had some trick-or-treaters, and they took the candy, which was fine.
At least you had one trick-or-treater.
At least one. I didn't think about that, Todd.
One happy trick-or-treater.
One happy.
We had about
a dozen. Trick-or-treating here, but it's called St. Martin on the 11th of November, and that's Kyle and my temple anniversary. And so the first year we moved here, so this is farther north than where I'm from. We were, I made a dinner and had candlelights, and then the doorbell rang. We lived in an apartment, and it kept ringing and ringing, and they sing songs, Santa Martin, and I didn't know, I didn't have any candy. And so from that time on, I knew we couldn't really celebrate our temple anniversary that night because the kids will be ringing the doorbell.
That's really interesting.
Okay.
That's really interesting. We got, oh, sorry.
We were celebrating my mother's birthday.
No, regarding St. Martin, where I grew up, it was very popular, St. Martin.
Oh,
like
yeah,
said, we were singing songs going from door to door, I think
Yeah.
in remembrance of Martin Luther, and we got some candy.
Oh, was that?
Yeah, I think that,
Uh-huh.
because is that you were from the north, right?
Right, but
northern?
only in very Protestant areas.
Yeah,
Then I
it's
moved
the same in
maybe
Holland.
I moved 60 kilometers further to where I used to where I went to university. It was just 60 kilometers further. It was more Catholic, and no one knew about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same here. The south is Catholic here, and they don't do it. They have Carnival, and then the north has that Sint Maarten that I didn't know about either. So,
And then
it's
we
such a small
moved to
country.
another town 400 kilometers further south, which was Protestant again, and they had this St. Martin tradition again. I was really surprised. I didn't know that. When I grew up, I thought everyone in Germany would celebrate St. Martin.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
It's like in January 6th or whatever in the Catholic areas, they go door to door and do the Three Kings Day stuff.
Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
when I was living in Germany in Bavaria after the mission for a year and a half, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I'm a dumb American, they're ringing on my door and stuff, but the neighbors filled me in.
Uh-huh.
It's the same kind of a thing, they probably don't do that up in northern Germany, do they?
Oh no, I didn't know about it since before I moved came to my mission. I've never heard of it. So the traditions are very different from area to area in Germany. Also regarding Carnival, there are different traditions. Near Switzerland is totally different from Cologne and Düsseldorf, for example.
So in Frankfurt they had, what was it called? Krampus was in the south, right? What's the other
Yes.
one? So you have
There's,
Fasching. That's
Fasching. That's
Fasching is Frankfurt.
Fasching. I think in Cologne and Düsseldorf and Mainz, it's Carnival.
Big and cold.
And in down south near Switzerland, it's Fastnacht. Fastnacht with Krampus and witches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When we first got to Germany, it just seemed like to us that there was a holiday every month. There was some reason to celebrate something.
So I think the Catholics have that better because they have a lot more holidays.
Yeah.
And when I worked in Bavaria, in Munich for digital equipment, was it November or something? One of the months, it was like every Thursday was a holiday.
Yeah, you have Maria Heilig.
Maria Himmelfahrt and Christi Himmelfahrt.
Yeah, Fronleichnam. When I worked for the church in Frankfurt, we also had several days off, all the official Deutsche Feiertage.
Yeah.
But those aren't German-wide. I mean, we had a calendar that showed which states had which, or which Länder had which holidays and stuff like that.
That's true, yeah. I grew up in northern Germany with a certain amount of holidays, and now I'm living in southern Germany. I have 3 holidays more.
So where are you living now again?
Near Stuttgart, Ludwigsburg.
Oh yeah, okay.
I just remember as a missionary going out to the mailbox, and the housefrau would always chew us out saying, "You dumb Americans, we have a holiday today. There's no mail."
But in
like
fact,
experience that.
But in fact, when I worked for Kodak in Rochester, New York, I had more holidays than in Germany.
Really?
Because in Germany, when holidays on a weekend, it's gone. At Kodak, we always had 11 holidays per year, no matter how many holidays on a weekend or not.
Right.
So under the bottom line, I had more holidays than I have in Germany.
So half our department that I work for is in India, and they seem like they have a festival of some sort, like every other week. They're always off. I mean, in the end, it's no more days than we have, but they're in our meetings, they're always saying, "Oh yeah, and Bangalore is on has a holiday on Friday or Monday or whatever," and they tell us the name of it, and they're kind of lucky because they have the Hindu holidays, the Christian holidays, and the Muslim holidays, and they celebrate them all. Not all the little ones, but the major ones.
Yeah, that's what Kyle had. He grew up in Maryland, in Washington D.C., and his high school had Jewish holidays off. So Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they all had.
What about Mormon holidays? I always thought we should have some holidays also.
Utah has 24th of July.
Oh, that's Pioneer Day or something?
Pioneer Day, yeah.
We call them Saturdays.
The only problem with Pioneer Day is those of us who don't work for Utah companies.
Yeah, you're right.
Don't get the day off.
Hey, Rich,
So-
who's that beautiful girl you've got with you?
Yeah.
Grandpa Rich has got his granddaughter.
My little granddaughter, baby Mimi.
Mimi.
Miriam.
Oh.
He's like, you know my name.
Isn't she cute?
I love it when they come over. My daughter has to wear a mask, but she drops her off and lets us watch her for a little bit.
Oh, how old is she?
10 months.
10 months.
Birthday's like a day or two before Christmas.
Oh, she's darling. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just had our 62nd.
No, 30.
Oh my God.
30. We just had our 31st great grandchild.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I just can't even imagine how many. Like it just must come, and you cannot keep track.
They're like rabbits. They just keep multiplying.
We have 15 grandkids who are married, so.
And that's why we don't have family gatherings anymore right now, because
Well, I
there's
know.
too many. Yeah.
Yeah, as
Well-
my mom's family is there, all my cousins and stuff start having kids. Our gatherings got smaller and smaller. It used to be everybody from my great grandmother down at Christmas time, and now it's basically just my parents and their kids, and then they invite they'll invite one or two of the other families over who don't have a lot of, like my uncle who it doesn't have a lot of grandkids and stuff, so they'll come over or whatever. But otherwise, it's gotten smaller. And my great grandmother had to go through everybody's name before she got to the right name. She had so many grandkids and great grandkids and stuff.
I can understand that. Yeah.
She knows them all. She knows them all.
I think, well, what Shauna says, and I agree, is grandkids are more fun than kids.
Oh, they are.
And Shauna calls it the reason she let her children live. Her reward for letting her children live.
So she can have grandchildren.
She didn't eat them.
Well, you know why it's more fun to have grandkids and kids? Because you can give them back when they.
Yeah.
They are just so much more fun. You have a lot more fun, and you don't have to do the hard stuff.
They crap their pants. It's like, oh, I think they're calling you.
But I would. Oh yeah, I wish I'd have 1 million of these.
You will.
I hope if I'm good. Bjorn has one about this age too.
5.5 months.
Oh, is it only? That's right. She's a little behind, but she's probably fun too.
Yep.
Very fun.
Her mother comes and she lives just 15 minutes away, so she comes here each day to work. She works in the dining room. I work in my study, and she brings the grandchild.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Well.
Okay. Well, I think we'll tell you all goodbye and happy Thanksgiving and stay well.
You look
Good to see
wonderful.
you.
Good to see you all.
Wear your mask.
Good to see you.
Keep
Stay
your distance.
safe.
Wash
Good
your
luck
hands.
with the elections. Don't get me started.
We won't know the results of those for several days, I don't think. But I'm sure glad we don't have to watch the ads anymore.
Oh yeah.
If not weeks. Anyway, I got to run as well.
See ya.
ya.
See you all.
Bye.
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 Cheers.
Bye.
Tschüss.
Love you.
Bye.
Right. I'm going to leave as well. Have a nice evening, Marco. Gute Nacht.
Gute Nacht. Gute Nacht, ja. Ja, Björn. Wünsche ich dir auch.
Ja, tschüss.
Tschüss.